A24's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is a movie about wanting to belong.
Look, she's doing that swallowing thing. She always does that when she's fucking nervous.
You're doing it. You're swallowing.
How the internet age has warped what it means to be a quote-unquote real one.
I'm an ally, and I totally get how it,
And what happens when the first generation born into a social media-driven culture loses Wi-Fi.
Calling 911! We calling you service? No! You? No!
So let's talk about Bodies, 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 and what this Gen Z whodunit slasher really has to say about this dumpster fire of a digital world we're all living in. But first...
Jordan has a gun in her pocket.
The movie opens on Sophie, a very wealthy young heiress, and her girlfriend B, a very middle-class peasant, as they make their way to a humongous mansion to join what the cool kids refer to as a hurricane party, also known as Stay Inside and Get Bombed Day. The mega mansion is owned by the out-of-town parents of Sophie's lifelong friend, David. Upon arriving at David's luxurious digs, B tells Sophie to go ahead of her because she left something in the car, but really, she just needs to make sure she looks nice for all the rich people. But thanks to B's desire to please, she'll soon have to please go find another car battery. As Sophie introduces B to her friend group, we find that none of them were actually expecting Sophie to show up on account of she's among the worst class of people in the world, those that don't respond to anything in the group chat.
You guys know that I'm useless with text, right?
Soon enough, the hurricane commences and the party moves inside so the horror genre stuff can start to happen. As Sophie and David catch up on the important things,
I look like I fuck. And that's the vibe I like to put out there.
David also makes mention of a fight between him and their friend Max, who apparently took off the day prior after punching David. Meanwhile, B gets to know Sophie's friends, including Jordan, who masters in the art of flirt-timidation.
Be careful.
Okay.
And the rest of the crew, who welcomes B into their TikTok cult. As they dance their little Gen Z hearts out, Sophie gets gel of Jordan vibing with her boo and suggests they all do the title of the movie instead.
Who wants to play Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
A game in which a pretend murderer pretend kills people while the rest of the group pretends they're not too wasted to figure out who the pretend killer is. After slapping each other around some, because what else are friends for?
Ow!
The game begins and Greg is the first to get body bumped, although Greg decides to go to bed early due to David being all territorial and flirtatious.
I think it's time for me to put myself to bed.
Oh, come on, Greg.
After taking his repressed emotions out on his girlfriend next, the group decides David must be the killer, causing David to storm off and punch stuff. Before the game can ruin any more fun, the power goes out, resulting in no light, no phone reception, and no discernible reason for living anymore. Upon splitting up like the dutiful horror movie characters they are, B discovers David has been real murdered by someone who clearly forgot they were playing a pretend game. After keeping their cool under pressure, the group discovers the car battery is dead and they're stranded. Hooray, vanity. So they take to trying to figure out who the killer is. And despite the fact that Alice just knows her boyfriend Greg can't possibly be capable of such violence,
Alice, how long have you known Greg? Like, 2 weeks?
the crew decides to confront Greg in a very calm and measured manner.
You murdered my boyfriend!
But Greg goes all toxic man-wolf on everyone out of nowhere, so B ends his weird shtick with a kettlebell. Despite the well-known fact that murder is a great team-building tool, doubt infects the group, causing them to question if they killed the right weirdo. As they begin to turn on each other on account of some really petty crap.
You're so toxic. You are. No, I'm not gonna. You are so toxic.
Alice gets lost in the dark and soon finds herself face to face with Emma's dead face. Insisting that Emma must have been pushed to her death, because let's face it, who can resist a juicy murder mystery narrative these days? The group orders up a side of extra spicy paranoia fries and decides it's B's turn to wear the sus sticker now. After refueling, and finding some naughty girlfriend cheating evidence, B crawls her way back into her new friends' lives, with a hammer. B then accuses Jordan of being the real murder person, of which Jordan voices her sincere disagreement.
That's a f***ing lie. You're lying. You're a liar. You're lying through your f***ing teeth.
Realizing her strategy isn't working, B challenges them to a game of victim cards instead.
My mom has borderline.
I have body dysmorphia.
So when the black girl has a coke
I have to go to therapy for PTSD. You can f***ing ask out. A podcast takes a lot of work, okay?
But Jordan gets too triggered, so she pulls the trigger on Alice, which leads to an unfriendly friend scuffle that concludes with Alice accidentally being dead. Jordan attempts the slowly back away method before B tries to remove her gun, but accidentally removes her life instead. Low on trust and high on help my girlfriend might be a murderer, the two remaining survivors separate before reuniting in the daylight. Deciding she's so over this whole who's the killer plot, B moves on to the much more important is my girlfriend cheating on me plot instead.
I want to see your texture, Jordan.
Which all leads to a desperate struggle for truth in these trying times, which leads to them accidentally finding an inconvenient truth on David's phone. Which then leads to the realization that some slight overreacting may have occurred over the past several hours. Then that dude whose name was mentioned like only a couple times throughout the runtime shows up. But B assures him that all the toxic murdering stuff can be put behind them now that their Wi-Fi god has risen once again.
You are so toxic.
Bodies Times 3 swerves hard into the misdirect lane by setting up a Scream-inspired slasher mystery with some modern Gen Z flair. But while Scream sets out to deconstruct the genre, Bodies is more interested in deconstructing the generation, revealing itself as more of a darkly comedic satire that challenges us to ponder if our selfish little lizard brains are really equipped to weather the relentless storm that is our current social climate. The movie opens on B and Sophie getting tongue-tied. However, without any further context, there's a separation between the audience and the characters. Is this love or lust? A real human connection or base animal desire? And the movie maintains this distance with its characters throughout. We're at first led to believe that B will be our surrogate, a reliable stand-in for the audience as we're thrust into this long-established group dynamic. But when things go nuclear, we find we can't really trust her any more than the rest of the group. We're provided a bird's eye view of these characters with no one perspective to latch onto, allowing us to objectively see their handling of the dire situation for what it truly is. Completely f***ing absurd.
Why did you ghost us, Sophie? Like, why?
Because you f***ing trigger me.
And this is where the scathing satire comes in, because the house they're hiding from the dangers of the outside world in acts as a metaphor for the internet. The cold distance we feel with these characters, not knowing their true intentions and constantly questioning their motives, reflects the social distrust the internet helps inspire. The surrounding lush green imagery shown before the group retreats inside emphasizes the natural world, and the isolation of the dark hallways with only the light of a phone guiding these characters inside emphasizes an unnatural world. As the storm rolls through, David gives an ape-like roar, taunting the weather to bring it on, as if to assert his dominance over the earthly world. But while the group is physically safe from the nature outside, it's the nature within that will divide them and ultimately be their undoing. Which is an apt reflection of the internet, because though we've evolved to the point of creating such a profoundly complex cyberspace, our base tendencies still remain, rendering us far less equipped to navigate this intricate landscape than we'd really care to admit.
I'm upset because somebody killed my best friend. I can't believe you're making this about you.
Check her text.
Interestingly enough, Bodies is less invested in taking jabs at Gen Zers themselves as it is in deconstructing the environment that contributes to the most stereotypical Gen Z eccentricities. The movie sports a fast-paced, party-like atmosphere throughout. The earlier scenes use this to elicit what it's like to observe social media. It's loud, it's colorful, and it's dominated by the trendy cool kids, making us, the viewers, feel like the uncool and unwelcomed outsiders. When the killing kicks off, however, the party rock energy takes a turn for the nihilistic, as if the veil of social media is suddenly lifted to reveal a dark underbelly. A self-destructive celebration of humanity's worst instincts.
Shut up! Shut up! Relax. I don't want you in here!
The Gen Z characters of Bodies are tough and intimidating because they have to be, because they've been brought up in the unforgiving, image-based world of social media. They have unlimited information available to them at all times, but lack the maturity and experience to best utilize it, constantly arming themselves with complex vocabulary as a means for intellectual bullying and one-upping.
You're always gaslighting me.
Gaslight, shut up, it's a dumb word. Like, what's next? You're gonna call me a narcissist? Or a foot soldier of, like, the white supremacy? Like,
which the movie poses isn't all that different from apes slinging shit at each other in a fit of rage. And the game they're playing is all about deception and putting on an act, reflecting the multi-layered truths the internet forces us to be more attuned to. Humans today grow up in front of cameras and social media, making the projection of a certain image a hauntingly more essential need than ever before. Bodies poses that the narcissism this inspires will surely be our downfall. B's fixation on her image and desire to be accepted is an essential ingredient to allowing these needless killings to unfold as they do. And it's no coincidence this mirror is the shape and size of a smartphone. Even David getting punched and having a really dark moment with a friend the night before is deflected to instead focus on the bruise being a nice commodity for his image.
Like a warrior, right? Like it's kind of cool, like it's kind of hot.
And there's an almost Shakespearean quality to the relentless karma that results from this self-absorption. The hurricane itself is reflective of these characters' inner darkness underneath the perfect, pretty, happy images they project. And when those fronts are put to the test, the storm within rages and ravages everything in its path.
Did you just f***ing shoot me?
Through its characters, Bodies makes the nihilistic but hard-to-argue case that our highly advanced third-world luxuries have softened us to the point of being incapable of working together against any real, pressing threats. So many shots throughout display an almost painted beauty to these characters, highlighting a deeply human, but at the same time, deeply fragile quality. When their safe spaces are penetrated by an undefinable danger, they're not primed to keep leveled heads, instead reverting to their most basic tribal tendencies. There's a frustration to rewatching Bodies, because it's so obvious that if the group calmed themselves and discussed the surrounding chaos rationally, they would realize the threat isn't among them at all, that it's actually nowhere near as dire a situation as they imagined. Instead, they get lost in their own fear and paranoia, not unlike anyone who's consumed way too much internet outrage for one day. Or for an entire lifetime, for that matter.
Feelings are facts! No, they're not. Facts are facts.
The movie shows us the ugly side of groupthink, the flames of fear that could spread throughout, and the killers it could transform even the most gentle and socialized people into. And when a single entity can't be pointed at to take the blame, a group will turn on each other on a dime. B returning through the doggy door after being cast out from the tribe is like a wolf crawling back to its wolf pack, further emphasizing the beasts we could so quickly revert to. But most interesting of all, perhaps, is that despite how far into savagery these characters descend, it's still so easy to get wrapped up in their drama, at least on first watch, because we too are led to believe that one of them is the murderer. As we learn of each character and the truths they conceal, we become just as sucked into their melodrama as they are.
You stayed for 3 years longer than you should have because you're a coward.
No, I'm not.
Because it all seems to matter. It all seems as if the pieces will all connect to form a coherent picture.
You didn't reply in the chat. And David actually told me that you, begged him to talk to your parents and, unlock your trust again. And that's why you're actually here.
And this is the magic trick Bodies pulls. By sucking us into their personal grievances, we're placed in these characters' shoes and tricked, in the same way they themselves are, into thinking all their petty gripes actually hold any real importance to the situation at hand.
It's creative nonfiction, which is a valid response to life and an attention economy.
Oh, f*** off and die.
Are you guys still playing werewolf?
Bodies is among the most relevant horror movies of the current moment, particularly because, by the end, it turns out it's actually not much of a horror movie at all. Like the characters, we're persuaded to believe that this is a typical slasher setup, that someone will step out of the shadows to validate what initial appearances led us to believe must be true. But the real truth is far more hard-hitting. The murderer picking everyone off isn't some maniacal maniac, some outsider or other. It's the beast that resides within us all. And the absurdist lens through which we view the story is as nihilistic as it gets. Because witnessing this absolute mockery of a situation feels a lot like looking into a funhouse cultural mirror. A reality where the importance of phones and personal drama far outweighs the unfathomably devastating truths all around us. Where image and an unquenchable thirst to fit in and be accepted breeds a hive mind of self-preservation at all costs. And if we're not careful, if we allow ourselves to be sucked into the vortex of projections and misunderstandings, that funhouse mirror just might be reshaped into a not-so-fun reality.
Let's go!
backyard all drowning in your f***ing feelings.
I'm sad too, okay? I'm scared too.
You literally murdered Greg. Literally.
It's like you're grabbing a fucking meat cleaver to go look for my boyfriend.
You fucking trigger me.
Mom?
No, it's me.
Everything's okay.